Imagine a young adult series that, beneath its really thrilling premise, kids morphing into animals, it secretly harbors this profound, really unflinching chronicle of war.
Yeah, it's way more than just heroes and cool transformations.
Exactly. It's about trauma, deep moral compromises, and those psychological scars of conflict that, well, they stick around long after the fighting stops.
Yeah, absolutely.
So today we're taking a deep dive into a universe that's far more complex, more emotionally resonant than maybe you ever expected. Our mission today is to embark on basically a chronological deep dive into a chronicle of war, the Animorphs saga.
Right. We're pulling from everything.
Everything. The original 54 numbered books, those 4 Megamorph special editions, and the 4 Chronicles prequels.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Think of this as your essential shortcut to understanding the surprising facts, the intricate lore, and the powerful themes that really define this universe as a continuous historical record.
And what's truly insightful here, I think, is how K.A. Applegate uses that seemingly simple idea, the animal morphing, to create this incredibly sophisticated allegory.
Yeah, for child soldiers, right, in this brutal, unconventional war.
Exactly. It just challenges the whole notion of kid-friendly storytelling by packing in themes you'd normally find in adult military fiction.
It really does. It forces young readers to confront these moral gray areas way before most other series even dared.
And this approach lets us see how the creators just meticulously built a universe that grapples with incredibly mature themes, often hidden kind of within what people just saw as children's books.
Revealing a depth that is, frankly, pretty astounding.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. So what can you expect from us today? We'll trace the saga from its cosmic origins, going billions of years back to understand the fundamental forces at play.
Right, through the Galactic War's accidental beginning.
To the desperate secret fight for Earth, and then that brutal, really ambiguous conclusion.
You'll discover how these intensely personal choices just ripple across entire galaxies.
And how the price of victory, even a hard-won victory, can be utterly devastating. It's a journey that'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew about this really seminal series.
Absolutely.
It's truly mind-boggling, isn't it? To think that the entire war we're about to discuss, including that desperate fight for Earth, it all has roots billions of years ago.
In a conflict between these, well, godlike beings.
Yeah, this cosmic chess match where entire civilizations are just unwitting pawns. It fundamentally redefines the stakes for our heroes.
Completely. So what's the initial genesis of this universe-spanning game? Who are these cosmic architects pulling the strings?
This cosmic game, it immediately raises these profound questions about free will, about destiny.
Totally. If our whole existence is just a game board for these godlike entities,
Right.
what does that mean for the desperate struggles, the heroic sacrifices we see?
Does it diminish the character's agency? Make their choices seem less meaningful?
Or maybe does it amplify their individual will to fight against what seem like predetermined odds?
That's a great point.
It adds this incredible layer of existential dread and philosophical inquiry to what could otherwise be just a straightforward alien invasion story.
Yeah.
It forces you to consider if any of their choices truly matter in the grand scheme, or if every victory, every loss, is just another move in a game whose rules and players they can never, ever truly comprehend.
And it all kicks off with the genesis of one of these entities, the tragic fall of the Ketran and the eventual birth of the Elemist.
Right. Before becoming this immense power we know as the Elemist, he was actually a mortal named Tumen.
A member of the peaceful, avian-like Ketran race. And these weren't your typical galactic warriors or conquerors at all.
No, not at all. They lived in this serene symbiosis with floating crystal continents. Their culture was deeply centered on community.
And they had this very specific, peaceful pastime.
That's right. Their culture revolved around these really complex simulation games, almost meditative in how they played them.
Tumen's favorite, I remember, was this virtual reality thing called Alien Civilizations.
Yeah, where players would subtly guide the development of, baby species, nascent species.
And the profound irony here is just almost unbearable.
Isn't it? This very pastime, this innocent act of nurturing fictional civilizations, proved tragically prophetic.
And led to the annihilation of his own species.
It's such a bitter commentary on how even the most benign intentions can lead to unforeseen catastrophe on a galactic scale.
And the catastrophe itself was born from just a terrible misunderstanding.
Yeah. Another Ketran tribe who were just starting out with interstellar communication made this fateful mistake.
They broadcast a recording of one of their games.
Completely devoid of any context, just the raw data.
You can almost see the disaster unfolding right there.
But yeah, this raw broadcast gets intercepted by the Capucins.
A species utterly devoid of nuance, violent, intensely literal-minded.
They completely misinterpreted the game. Believed it was undeniable evidence that the Catrans were treating real, existing civilizations as mere toys for their amusement.
Just unbelievable.
So in swift, absolute, and utterly brutal retribution, the Capucins traced the broadcast back to the Ketran homeworld.
And annihilated the entire species.
A complete, total extinction. All stemming from a cultural misinterpretation so profound it just echoes through the ages.
It's a stark warning, isn't it, about the perils of first contact without empathy or, complete understanding.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. So Tumen survived only because he happened to be aboard the MC, this experimental deep space vessel, at the exact moment of the attack.
Right. So for centuries, he and the few other scattered survivors just wandered the galaxy, adrift and alone.
Carrying that unfathomable grief of a lost civilization.
Their journey, already so tragic, then took an even darker, more surreal turn.
And they encountered this massive, planet-sized, sponge-like creature known only as Father.
Yeah, this entity was basically a collector of consciousness. It absorbed the minds of beings it captured.
And kept them alive in this vast, shared mental space just for its own amusement.
Father devoured the last of the Ketran survivors, but in this twisted act of preservation, kept Tumen alive for centuries.
Forcing him into endless mental games within this collective consciousness.
It was a hellish existence, just constant torture of the mind.
But Tumen, somehow, against all odds, eventually defeated Father.
Right, but not through force or conventional warfare, which he couldn't possibly use.
How did he do it then?
By absorbing the countless minds Father had collected over millennia.
Wow. So that act transformed him. From a singular mortal being
into a vast distributed consciousness, almost a collective mind itself, spanning time and space.
And he adopted his old gamer tag, Elemist, as his new name.
Yeah, signifying that his existence was now dedicated to playing the ultimate game on a cosmic scale, a game of preservation and subtle influence.
The profound irony just continues, doesn't it?
It really does. A game about guiding civilizations led to the annihilation of his own, and now he becomes a cosmic guide.
His victory over Father, achieved through mental absorption and integration rather than destruction.
Directly mirrors the game he would eventually play on a cosmic scale, with the universe itself as his game board.
It's a tragic yet deeply transformative origin that defines his very nature.
One focused on the intricate interplay of life and destiny. He's not really a god of creation in the traditional sense.
More like a supreme strategist, a grand manipulator of probabilities.
Exactly.
So now we have the Elemist, this vast, benevolent, yet, manipulative force. But every good game needs an opposing player, right? A true antagonist.
Which brings us to the rise of Kryak and the rules of engagement.
As the transcendent Elemist began subtly influencing the universe, preserving and advancing species,
he encountered his absolute equal and opposite, the Kryak.
Kryak is depicted as just, a being of pure malevolence.
Yeah, a force of cosmic entropy dedicated to the complete and total annihilation of all life.
Which Kryak considered the ultimate form of beauty and perfection. Chilling.
The crucial point to grasp here is how these two godlike entities are perfect inverses, a fundamental dichotomy.
One creating and subtly guiding life.
The other obsessively destroying and erasing it. They are the cosmic forces of order and chaos, locked in this eternal struggle.
And their initial direct conflicts were apparently so catastrophic.
They literally threatened the very fabric of reality.
Can you even begin to comprehend that scale? Just mind-blowing.
Realizing their immense destructive power was just too great for open warfare, they established a set of intricate rules for their eternal game.
Which leads to this truly fascinating and horrifying pact, the Proxy War Agreement.
Yeah, the Elemist and Kryak recognized that their direct fights were literally tearing reality apart, so they decided to delegate.
No more direct engagement. Instead, they'd choose champions from what they saw as lesser species.
Like the Andalites and Yeerks, or even humanity, to fight proxy battles at pivotal moments in history.
So the fate of entire civilizations, not just individual lives, would hang in the balance of these contests.
And consider this. The Elemist, born from empathy and a game of subtle guidance, he advocates for champions, for struggle as a means of growth and evolution.
Well, Kryak,
the force of annihilation, accepts these proxy wars because they're just another path to ultimate destruction for him, a way to test and break civilizations.
So the rules aren't really neutral.
Not at all. They're a direct manifestation of their opposing philosophies, making every battle a philosophical debate played out with lives.
This single treatment fundamentally redefines the entire Animorphs saga.
Absolutely.
This framework profoundly impacts how we, the listeners, see the agency of the characters, doesn't it?
Completely. Does it diminish their heroism?
Or does it amplify their will to fight when even their existence might be part of this larger preordained conflict?
It's a question that just hangs over the entire series. For you, what stands out about these cosmic stakes? Do the struggles of the Animorphs feel less significant or maybe more poignant, knowing they might be pawns?
I think it actually amplifies their will.
Interesting. How so?
Knowing that your entire species might just be a piece in a game you can't even perceive, that adds such a profound layer of, maybe not fatalism, but...
It amplifies the heroism of those who choose to fight against those overwhelming odds.
Exactly. Their choices, even if they're part of a cosmic game, they still feel theirs. They still carry immense personal weight.
And that's the genius of it, I think. It's a deeply philosophical question dressed up in a thrilling alien invasion story.
So, with these godlike chess players setting the board, how did the actual pieces, the Andalites and Yeerks, first stumble into their universe-altering conflict?
Well, it wasn't some ancient, inevitable clash, like you might think.
No, it was actually a shockingly recent catastrophe, all sparked by a single, well-intentioned act of hubris by the otherwise, enlightened Andalite race.
Which brings us to the spark of empire, the Andalite folly.
This is such a crucial point because it immediately challenges those simplistic notions of heroes and villains we often get.
Right. It shows how even the most enlightened or compassionate actions can have these devastating, unintended consequences.
One species' folly can truly unleash an empire.
And it sets the stage for the profound moral gray areas the Animorphs will constantly have to navigate later on.
It's never just simple good versus evil when you trace the real origins of a conflict like this.
Especially one this vast. It reminds us that good intentions are rarely enough in such a complex universe.
And those devastating consequences all trace back to what's known throughout the galaxy as Ciro's kindness, the original sin, basically.
Yeah. About 50 years before the main series kicks off, an Andalite scientific expedition led by Prince Ciro
made first contact with the Yeerks on their murky, pretty inhospitable homeworld.
And the Yeerks in their natural state were quite pathetic, really.
These parasitic, naturally blind, slug-like creatures.
Entirely dependent on inhabiting the brains of the dim-witted native Geed just to experience the universe.
They were essentially trapped in their own biological limits, living in darkness, constant hunger.
Without a host. Their existence was just this constant striving for light, for sensation, for something more.
And this is where Ciro's fatal pity comes into play.
He saw an intelligent species trapped in this biological prison.
And in an act that would become infamous galaxy-wide as Ciro's kindness.
He violated long-standing Andalite non-interference protocols.
And shared advanced technology with them, including space travel.
Yes, spacefaring capabilities, the ability to detect host species. His intention was, to elevate their species, to set them free from their biological constraints.
But this act of compassion, as well-intended as it might have been from his perspective,
proved to be a catastrophic mistake. A faction of ambitious Yeerks, led by this particularly cunning individual, Esplin 9466.
They saw the Andalite technology not as a gift for elevation, but as the ultimate means of liberation and conquest.
Exactly. They didn't want to be free of hosts. They wanted better hosts. Stronger, smarter hosts.
So they immediately rebelled against their own kind, stole Andalite ships,
and fled their homeworld, beginning this relentless galactic campaign to find and enslave more capable and powerful host species.
What's chilling there is how the good intention of sharing tech, without really understanding the recipient culture's nature or ambitions,
leads directly to the creation of your greatest enemy.
It's not just hubris. It's a chilling illustration of how cultural relativism isn't just academic, it's galactic survival.
Ciro's inability to comprehend the Yeerks' inherent parasitic nature, their ambition, turned a benevolent act into a genocidal catalyst.
It really makes you ask, at what point does technological superiority blind even the most enlightened species to the moral responsibilities that come with it?
That's a crucial distinction. It really underscores how even well-intentioned acts can just unravel into catastrophe, especially with unknown cultures.
And those repercussions escalated fast, leading to the Hork-Bajir tragedy, the first genocide.
Right. For his transgression, Prince Cyril was disgraced, stripped of his rank, and exiled with his family to the Hork-Bajir homeworld.
And this planet, from the descriptions, it sounds like paradise.
Oh, absolutely. Home to a species of 7-foot-tall, blade-covered reptilians who were, paradoxically, gentle herbivores, natural gardeners.
Peaceful, simple people who didn't even have a concept of deliberate violence.
Which is crucial because it highlights the utter devastation of what came next.
The expanding Yeerk Empire, now led by Estreen 9466,
saw the Hork-Bajir's powerful, blade-covered bodies as the perfect soldiers for their growing army.
So the invasion of their homeworld was swift, brutal,
and completely devastating, turning a paradise into a horrific killing field.
And Cyro's daughter, a young Andalite named Aldrea, she witnessed the slaughter of her family firsthand.
Yeah, and with a uniquely intelligent Hork-Bajir seer named Dahomey, she mounted this desperate guerrilla resistance.
And here's the profound, just heartbreaking irony.
Aldrea was forced to teach the peaceful Hork-Bajir how to kill, just to save them.
She corrupted their innocent, nonviolent culture, forcing them to become warriors to survive.
To fight evil, they had to become something they weren't. And that transformation left these indelible scars.
What's fascinating here is how this cycle of unintended consequences and moral compromise just keeps going.
Exactly. When the Andalite military finally intervened, it was under the command of the battle-hardened war prince Alloran.
But he was unable to turn the tide, facing overwhelming Yeerk numbers.
Yeah, and the loss of the planet seemed inevitable. So Alloran made this horrific, desperate decision.
To deny the Yeerks their primary source of host bodies,
He deployed the quantum virus, a bioweapon engineered to exterminate the Hork-Bajir species,
a full-blown genocide, killing controllers and free Hork-Bajir alike.
eradicating an entire species, basically.
Yeah.
For this heinous act, Alloran was forever shamed as the butcher of Hork-Bajir.
It's an act of desperation so extreme, it just created this new level of horror, a stain on Andalite history.
And Aldrea, utterly disgusted by her own people's actions and the horrors she'd witnessed,
Chose to become a Hork-Bajir Nothlit, permanently trapped in that morph.
She lived in a hidden valley with Dahomey, where they even had a child, a symbol of hope and defiance, maybe.
Before eventually being found and tragically killed by the Yeerks, her whole life became a testament to the tragedy and the unresolvable moral dilemmas of the war.
This entire sequence establishes such a powerful theme of cyclical tragedy for you, the listener.
Cyro's well-intentioned mistake led directly to the Yeerks' rise.
Alloran's attempt to rectify that mistake led to an even greater atrocity, a genocide that forever haunted his people.
This chain of flawed actions creates this pervasive cycle of guilt and failed atonement.
It defines the Andalite race's relationship with the Yeerks and sets the stage for the intense moral complexities the Animorphs would later face.
It's a continuous tragic ripple effect across generations and species.
Showing that the best intentions can pave the road to galactic hell.
Okay, so with the cosmic game board set and the initial spark of conflict ignited, let's zoom in on some key players.
Right, because as the Andalite-Yeerk War raged across the galaxy, two figures emerged whose actions would directly shape the future conflict on Earth.
The relentlessly ambitious Yeerk, Estreen 9466.
And the noble Andalite war prince, Elfangor.
Their intertwined histories are defined by personal failure, ambition, and even a secret love affair that would ultimately produce one of the key members of the human resistance.
And this isn't just about cosmic battles. It's a brilliant exploration of how these systemic moral compromises just cascade through generations.
Each character's personal trauma, from Cyro's initial hubris to Jake's ultimate command,
Isn't just a plot point, but a direct consequence of historical failures.
It humanizes the galactic conflict by showing its roots in flawed individual decisions.
Making the vastness of space feel intimately relatable through personal tragedy. It truly shows that galaxy-spanning conflicts aren't just abstract battles between armies,
But are deeply driven by individual choices, mistakes, and relationships. It really makes you connect with the saga on a deeply personal level.
Absolutely.
Let's start with the making of a monster, the origin of Visser Three.
Right. The creation of the Animorphs' most feared enemy was the direct result of a seemingly minor battlefield error.
Made by a young Elfangor Cyrenial Shamtul, as a young heiress, a cadet, basically.
Yeah, Elfangor and his friend Arbron were placed under the command of the disgraced war prince Alloran for what seemed like a simple mission.
They were tasked with returning two humans, Lauren and Chapman, who'd been abducted by this scavenger species called the Skrit Na.
And the mission got even more complicated when they discovered the Skritna also had the time matrix.
A powerful artifact created by the Elemist himself.
The seemingly minor detail about 2 abducted humans and a cosmic artifact would, of course, become incredibly significant later, intertwining Earth's fate with the broader galactic war.
So in pursuit of the Skritna, they get drawn into this chaotic, multi-faction battle with Yeerk forces on the Taxan homeworld.
And during this intense fighting, Elfangor, still a young, inexperienced cadet learning the ropes of war,
Made a critical mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment.
that left War Prince Alaran isolated and vulnerable.
And seizing this unprecedented opportunity with ruthless efficiency.
The Yeerk, then known as Subvisser Esplin 9466, infested the Andalite War Prince.
Which was just monumental, utterly game-changing for the Yeerk Empire.
Oh, completely. Never before had a Yeerk successfully taken an Andalite host. They were considered too intelligent, too strong to be controlled.
So Esplin 9466 was immediately promoted, eventually becoming Visser Three.
The leader of the Yeerk military forces and the only Andalite controller in existence.
A terrifying being with access to both an Andalite's formidable natural body and the ability to morph horrifying alien predators.
It was a victory for the Yeerks that struck fear across the entire galaxy.
The layers of irony here are just astounding, aren't they? Elfangor's youthful mistake directly creates his future nemesis, Visser Three.
And Alaran's own past shame as the Butcher of Hork-Bajir.
Led to this new, horrific fate of being infested, turning him into the very weapon he had once fought against.
It's a double tragedy of epic, almost poetic proportions.
It's a perfect storm of consequences, truly.
Alaran's original crime already tainted him, and then he becomes the ultimate prize for the Yeerks.
A living weapon in their hands. A constant, grotesque reminder of Andalite vulnerability and their past failures.
It's such a brilliant piece of world building. It connects past failures to future threats, ensuring that the characters, and by extension you, the listener, feel the weight of history in every single battle.
Meanwhile, while Visser Three rose to power through sheer military might and brutal efficiency,
the invasion of Earth was orchestrated with this chilling blend of cunning and psychological manipulation by another ambitious Yeerk, Idris 562.
which brings us to the discovery of humanity, Visser One's gambit.
Right. After learning about those 2 humans captured by the Skritnae, Idris dedicated herself to finding their home planet, sensing a huge opportunity.
Upon discovering Earth, she immediately recognized its profound strategic value.
Humanity, she assessed, was a Class 5 species.
Plentiful in number, technologically primitive by galactic standards.
And, most importantly, psychologically vulnerable.
That's a chilling insight. Our greatest weakness wasn't our lack of advanced weaponry or starships,
but our inherent social and emotional needs. Our desire for connection, belonging, security.
It's a truly uncomfortable reflection on human nature, actually.
Precisely. So rather than advocating for a full-scale military invasion, which would have sparked immediate widespread resistance,
Idris devised this brilliant and insidious strategy of slow, covert infiltration.
she created a benign-sounding community organization called the Sharing as a front.
To recruit willing hosts, preying on human loneliness, insecurity, and that deep-seated desire to belong.
It's insidious, really, targeting the very fabric of human society.
And her strategy was a resounding success, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It allowed the Yeerks to establish a significant foothold on Earth with minimal resistance, essentially turning humanity against itself.
And for her efforts, Idris 562 was promoted to Visser One,
the supreme commander of the Yeerk invasion of Earth and, critically, Visser Three's direct superior and shrewd rival.
This reveals such a chilling insight for you, the listener. Humanity's greatest weakness wasn't our tech,
but our social and emotional needs, exploited by a cunning enemy.
It makes you think about how easily manipulated we can be, and how internal vulnerabilities can be far more dangerous than external threats.
That's a truly unsettling thought.
Now let's circle back to Elfangor. After that disastrous mission on the Taxan homeworld.
Right. Elfangor and Lauren used the time matrix to escape Visser Three.
But the device malfunctioned spectacularly, throwing them through this surreal patchwork reality.
Before they finally managed to reach Earth, stranded, injured, and believing he could never return to his people.
Elfangor made a profound, life-altering choice.
He morphed a human, intentionally stayed in that form for over 2 hours, and became a Nothlit.
Permanently trapped in a human body, a profound sacrifice of his Andalite identity, his majestic form, all his natural abilities.
Living under the name Alan Fangor, he married Lauren, and together they had a son, Tobias.
For 3 precious years, Elfangor lived a peaceful, anonymous human life.
It's a remarkable period of quiet, domestic bliss amidst all that cosmic conflict. A beautiful, fragile interlude.
However, the Ellimist eventually appeared.
And presented him with a stark, heart-wrenching choice.
He could remain with his family in this timeline, living out his human life.
Or he could return to the war as an Andalite, which would reset the timeline to its original course, but allow him to continue the fight against the Yeerks.
And the Ellimist framed the choice not as a moral imperative, but as a necessary move in his eternal game against Kryak.
Implying that Elfangor's happiness was just a variable in a cosmic equation.
With immense sorrow, Elfangor chose his duty over his happiness.
He was restored to his Andalite body, and his years on Earth were erased from the primary timeline.
Though he retained those bittersweet memories of his wife and son.
This secret history would become one of the most significant and heartbreaking revelations of the war,
explaining Tobias's unique connection to the Andalites and the conflict.
and powerfully highlighting the profound personal sacrifices demanded by cosmic forces. It's a heartbreaking decision that defines his character, a choice that reverberates through the entire saga.
Showing that even love and family can be casualties in the Ellimist and Kryak's game. And so the stage is set. Now we enter the heart of the saga, the Earth Front, a secret war.
This is where the central narrative of the Animorphs saga truly unfolds, over about 3 years of brutal clandestine warfare right here on Earth.
This period chronicles the gut-wrenching transformation of 5 ordinary teenagers,
From frightened children into hardened guerrilla soldiers.
detailing the escalating stakes and the terrible moral compromises of their desperate fight against the Yeerk invasion.
And this is where the series truly earns its reputation, I think, pushing young adult fiction into really deep, dark territory.
By showing the corrupting nature of war through the eyes of its child protagonists.
It doesn't shy away from the trauma, the impossible choices, the lasting scars.
It's a much more mature, unflinching take on conflict than many might expect from what was, on the surface, a kid's book series.
It forces young readers to confront the true cost of heroism.
Let's start with Phase 1, the beginning, covering roughly the first 6 months of the conflict.
The war for Earth didn't begin with some grand invasion fleet arriving.
No, it started in an abandoned construction site. A mortally wounded Prince Elfangor fleeing Visser Three.
Bestowed the Andalite power to morph on 5 ordinary teenagers he encountered purely by chance.
Jake, Rachel, Cassie, Marco, and Tobias. Using the Escafil device, that small blue cube.
He gave them the ability to acquire the DNA of any animal they touched and transform into it.
And moments later,
Visser Three arrived and devoured Elfangor. Right there, in front of the horrified teens.
leaving them as Earth's only and entirely unprepared defense.
What truly stands out here is the sheer abruptness and brutality of their induction into war.
They went from ordinary kids worrying about school and stuff
To Earth's last hope in a matter of minutes. A baptism by fire that would define them and traumatize them for the rest of their lives.
It's an opening that perfectly sets the visceral, no-holds-barred tone for the series.
Definitely. Their initial missions were just fraught with fear and this brutally steep learning curve as they struggled to establish their roles.
Jake, the reluctant but natural leader, burdened by the weight of command.
Rachel, his cousin, the fearless and aggressive warrior, maybe embracing the violence a bit too readily.
Cassie, the animal expert and moral conscience, often grappling with the ethical dilemmas.
Marco, Jake's best friend, the pragmatic strategist and comic relief, using humor as a shield.
And Tobias, the lonely outcast, who found his purpose as an aerial scout soaring above the battlefield.
And early developments were rapid and transformative, almost immediately showing the crushing personal cost of their new reality.
In their very first major mission, Tobias remained in his red-tailed hawk morph for more than 2 hours.
Becoming a Nothlit, a being permanently trapped in an animal's body.
This wasn't just a plot point, it was the first great, irreversible sacrifice of the war.
A constant living reminder of the stakes, and a source of profound identity crisis for Tobias.
It's a gut-wrenching moment that truly sets the tone for the sacrifices to come, forcing him to fundamentally reevaluate what it means to be himself.
The team's capabilities were then significantly enhanced when they rescued Aximilia's Istil,
Or Axe, Elfangor's younger brother.
who'd been stranded in his crash-domed ship at the bottom of the ocean.
Axe provided invaluable intelligence on Yeerk and Andalite tech and culture, becoming the 6th Animorph and offering them a vital strategic edge.
And shortly after that, a devastating personal revelation solidified the group's resolve, transforming the conflict for one member.
Marco. He discovered that Visser One, the cunning leader of the entire Earth invasion,
Was inhabiting the body of his mother, Eva, who he thought was dead after a boating accident.
This transformed the war from an abstract fight for the planet into this deeply personal rescue mission for Marco.
Adding a whole new layer of emotional urgency and making the conflict incredibly intimate and agonizingly personal. Imagine facing your mother, knowing it's not her, but the enemy commanding her body. Just awful.
The early period also saw Jake temporarily infested by a Yeerk.
A truly horrifying experience that gave him a first-hand visceral understanding of the enemy they were fighting.
And the terrifying fate of his own brother, Tom, who was also a controller.
It's one thing to fight an enemy. It's another entirely to know what it feels like to be that enemy. To lose your own mind, your own will, to a parasitic slug.
The scope of the conflict then quickly expanded beyond Earth with the tangible introduction of cosmic forces.
The Ellimist revealed himself to the Animorphs, testing their resolve by offering them an escape to another planet.
An offer they bravely refused.
Their success in passing his test led them to destroy the Yeerks' Earth-based Kandrona,
A critical device that generated the rays Yeerks needed to feed.
The destruction of the Kandrona wasn't just a major blow, it was an existential threat to the entire Earth invasion force.
Right. Without a constant supply of Kandrona rays, a Yeerk would literally starve to death inside its host.
A slow and agonizing demise. This single act demonstrated the Animorphs' capacity for total warfare, pushing them into decisions that carried, well, genocidal implications for the enemy, even the unhosted ones.
They also forged critical alliances during this time.
They met the Chi, a race of pacifist androids created by the long-dead Pemelites,
who became their secret allies, providing technology and invaluable information while upholding their strict nonviolent code.
And in another Ellimist-guided event, Tobias was instrumental in liberating two Hork-Bajir, Jarahami, and Kethalpak,
and establishing a hidden colony for them on Earth.
As a reward, the Ellimist restored Tobias's ability to morph, though his natural form would forever remain a hawk.
A partial return to what he'd lost. A bittersweet concession, really.
What stands out to me in this phase is just the sheer terror of their first morphs.
Yeah, the grotesque and often painful process described in the books, bones shifting, skin tearing.
A constant struggle against the animal's natural instincts. And then there's the profound emotional weight of Marco's discovery about his mother, or the devastating silence when Tobias becomes a Nothlit.
These aren't just plot points. They're visceral, deeply felt experiences that shatter these young characters from the very beginning.
Cementing the series' reputation for unflinching realism.
So, with the foundation of their secret war established and their innocence already severely dented, we move into Phase 2, the erosion of innocence, covering roughly Year 1 to Year 2.
Right. As the war dragged on, that initial clarity of good versus evil began to irrevocably blur.
And the Animorphs were forced to make increasingly difficult, morally ambiguous, and often horrifying decisions.
The most significant turning point, a true crucible for their morality, was undeniably the David trilogy.
After recovering a lost Escafil device, the Animorphs made the fateful decision to recruit a seventh member, a boy named David.
Whose parents had been killed by controllers, they hoped to give him a chance to fight back, to find purpose in his grief.
But David quickly proved to be emotionally unstable, deeply traumatized, and dangerously power-hungry.
This highlights the profound danger of giving immense power to someone already so deeply broken by trauma.
Consumed by grief, paranoia, and a desire for control, David quickly betrayed the team.
Attempting to kill them and sell their secrets to Visser Three.
This wasn't just another enemy. This was a human enemy. One who possessed their powers and knew their true identities.
The line between friend and foe, human and monster, just blurred completely.
Faced with this unprecedented and existential threat, a human enemy who could morph and expose them all,
the Animorphs were forced to make a horrifying, irreversible choice.
They defeated David, but couldn't risk letting him go free.
In an act that would haunt them for the remainder of the war, a dark stain on their collective conscience.
They trapped him permanently in the morph of a rat and abandoned him on a remote, uninhabited island.
A fate many considered worse than death. This event marked the definitive end of their innocence,
demonstrating their chilling capacity for ruthless, almost cruel actions when their survival and the fate of Earth were at stake.
This raises an important, deeply uncomfortable question for you, the listener. At what point do heroes cross a line into actions that betray their own humanity, even in the name of a greater good?
The moral landscape of the war was further complicated by Cassie's unique encounter with a Yeerk named Estreen.
Right. Aftern was part of this growing clandestine faction within the Yeerk Empire, the Yeerk peace movement.
That opposed forced enslavement and sought a more symbiotic, consensual existence.
This introduced a shocking nuance to their monolithic enemy.
Cassie's decision to risk her own life to save Aftern, temporarily becoming a caterpillar, Nothlit herself to hide the Yeerk,
Was a profound act of empathy. It fundamentally challenged the team's perception of the Yeerks as this monolithic, irredeemably evil force.
It introduced the idea that some of their enemies were also, in their own way, victims of the Yeerk Empire's tyranny.
This complexity would have significant ramifications later in the war, pushing you, the listener, to consider the nuances of conflict and the possibility of redemption, even for the most abhorrent enemies.
It's not just black and white anymore, it's 1,000 shades of gray.
Exactly.
And as if personal trauma and blurring moral lines weren't enough, the Animorphs' place in the larger cosmic conflict was starkly defined.
When the Elemist and Krayak chose them as champions in a proxy battle for the fate of the Iskyort, a vulnerable symbiotic species.
They were pitted against Krayak's latest creations, engineered killing machines known as the Howlers, beings of pure destruction.
The Animorphs quickly realized they could not possibly win through brute force or superior firepower against these relentless, soulless weapons.
So instead, in a truly inspired and uniquely human maneuver,
They won by implanting a memory of Jake and Cassie's first kiss into the Howlers' collective consciousness.
the introduction of a complex emotion like love, compassion, connection.
Into the childlike, yet utterly ruthless, minds of the Howlers corrupted them as weapons. It broke their programming.
Forcing Krayak to destroy his own creations to contain the damage.
This victory was such a powerful lesson. Their humanity, with all its complexities, emotions, and vulnerabilities, was paradoxically their greatest weapon.
And their actions had consequences that rippled across the galaxy, proving that sometimes the most powerful force isn't destruction, but empathy. Having survived the erosion of their innocence and faced cosmic trials, let's move into Phase 3, the Endgame, covering roughly Year 2 to Year 3.
Right. In this final, brutal year of the war, the conflict escalated dramatically, shedding all pretense of secrecy and erupting into open warfare across Earth.
The Yeerks, now led by the newly promoted Visser 1, who used to be Visser 3, right, earned the promotion through brutality.
Yeah, exactly. They discovered that the Andalite bandits were, in fact, human children.
This devastating revelation led to the immediate targeting of the Animorphs' families.
Jake's parents were infested. The families of the other Animorphs were forced into hiding in the protected Hork-Bajir Valley.
The stakes suddenly became impossibly personal for everyone involved. The war invading their homes, their most intimate relationships.
During this desperate time, they located Tobias's long-lost mother, Lauren.
Who'd been blinded and left with amnesia after her traumatic time with Elfangor.
They restored her sight with the morphing power, adding another member to their growing, desperate community of refugees and freedom fighters.
A small, bittersweet ray of hope in an otherwise dark and unforgiving time.
With their identities exposed and their families in hiding, the Animorphs finally abandoned their covert guerrilla tactics.
And began to openly build an army.
In a brilliant strategic move, they recruited a group of disabled teenagers who had been overlooked by the Yeerks as potential hosts.
To become the auxiliary Animorphs.
These were individuals deemed unsuitable by the enemy, now transformed into vital, powerful assets. This is a powerful statement, leveraging the enemy's oversight against them.
Showing that strength can be found in the most unexpected places.
They also made the momentous and risky decision to reveal the full extent of the Yeerk invasion to the U.S. government.
Forging a fragile and often contentious alliance with the military.
The war became public, shattering humanity's comforting ignorance.
And the Yeerks responded by abandoning all pretense of secrecy, beginning mass, open infestations of the population.
Turning cities into battlegrounds and neighbors into enemies, there was no hiding anymore for anyone.
The war culminated in a massive final battle for control of the Yeerk pool ship,
which had landed on Earth, poised to infest the entire planet.
Jake, now a hardened and ruthless commander forged by years of impossible choices,
orchestrated a complex, multi-pronged assault involving the U.S. military, the Free Hork-Bajir, and both the original and auxiliary Animorphs.
He even made a strategic and highly controversial alliance with the Taxons.
A species driven by an all-consuming, terrifying hunger, promising them the Escafil device in exchange for their help.
He was making deals with literal devils, compromising his soul for the sake of victory.
And during the brutal battle to seize control of the ship, Jake made the most difficult and ethically compromising decision of his life.
To break the Yeerk command structure and reach the bridge.
He gave the order to flush the main Yeerk pool into the vacuum of space, killing over 17,000 unhosted Yeerks in an instant.
It was an act of mass destruction, a calculated genocide for the sake of victory.
A decision that would forever haunt him and raise profound questions about the nature of his heroism.
This 3-year arc demonstrates the series' most potent and unflinching theme, the corrupting nature of war.
The Animorphs' journey from tentative missions to brutal strategic battle is a meticulous study in the erosion of innocence.
They began as children trying to do the right thing.
And ended as hardened soldiers who had committed atrocities, made impossible choices, and sacrificed irreplaceable pieces of their own humanity to win.
Forever blurring the line between hero and monster.
It's a sobering, deeply uncomfortable commentary on the true cost of conflict, forcing you to question what victory truly means when so much is lost.
And now we arrive at the reckoning of victory without peace.
The conclusion of the war for Earth was not a moment of triumphant celebration or joyful relief.
No, it was a grim accounting of the true costs of victory.
The final battle ended the Yeerk invasion, yes, but it left the heroes shattered, questioning their fight and facing a future irrevocably defined by trauma.
And the stark realization that war itself is a perpetual cycle.
Wow. This is the ultimate thematic payoff of the series, truly. It bravely refuses a fairy tale ending.
And instead confronts you, the listener, with the true, devastating aftermath of conflict.
It doesn't offer easy answers or clean resolutions, which is incredibly rare and impactful for a series, especially one aimed at a younger audience.
It deliberately leaves you with a sense of unease, a lingering weight that few other narratives achieve. Let's talk about the price of victory, specifically Rachel's tragic loss.
Right. The final moments of the war were marked by its most personal and tragic loss.
As part of Jake's desperate strategy to secure the Blade ship,
he gave Rachel a suicide mission, to board the ship alone and assassinate his own brother Tom and the high-ranking Yeerk controlling him.
Rachel, who had long struggled with her own burgeoning aggression and feared she would have no place in a world at peace.
A world without the need for her violent strength. She accepted the mission knowing she would not survive.
She succeeded in killing Tom, but was mortally wounded in the process.
Her body later recovered floating lifelessly in the cold vacuum of space.
Her death was a deliberate, unflinching, authorial choice, wasn't it? To underscore the brutal reality that there are no clean victories in war.
Even in triumph, there is profound and irreversible loss. What's truly impactful here is how her final mission underscores the series' commitment to showing the raw cost of war.
Even for its most outwardly fearless and seemingly invulnerable character.
It makes you realize that even the strongest can be broken.
With the pool ship captured and the Andalite fleet finally arriving in force, the Yeerk invasion of Earth was officially over.
The surviving Animorphs were declared heroes of the galaxy, and humanity was tentatively welcomed into the galactic community.
But the victory felt utterly hollow for those who had paid the highest price.
Exactly. The return to peacetime proved impossible for the survivors. The war had changed them too profoundly, leaving deep, unseen wounds.
These were children forced to make adult decisions in life-or-death situations, to commit unspeakable acts.
And the psychological burden was immense and crippling. They were heroes, yes, but shattered ones.
Jake, hailed as a galactic hero, was privately tormented by his actions, particularly the order to flush the Yeerk pool.
He suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder, and was later even put on trial by the Andalites and humans for war crimes. Specifically for that decision.
The very act that secured victory also condemned him, forcing him to live with the moral weight of his command.
Marco, ever the pragmatist, maybe as a coping mechanism,
leveraged his wartime fame into a celebrity career, becoming a media personality and television star.
It's an interesting adaptation, finding a new stage in a world that no longer demanded the same kind of brutal pragmatism. But it too felt like a form of escape, maybe.
Yeah.
A way to bury the past beneath a veneer of manufactured cheer.
Cassie, the group's moral compass, dedicated her life to diplomacy.
Working tirelessly to help the free Hork-Bajir and, in a controversial move, brokering a fragile peace with the surviving Yeerks.
Her solution allowed them to be given the morphing power on the condition that they become snake Nothlits.
Living out their lives in a protected nature preserve on Earth. It was a creative, but still extreme solution. A compromise that spoke volumes about the lasting legacy of the war.
And Tobias, shattered by Rachel's death and perhaps finding solace only in his natural form,
retreated almost entirely from the human world, living a solitary existence as a hawk.
The heroes had won, but they were profoundly broken, unable to find peace in the world they had saved.
This powerfully illustrates that psychological and moral injuries can be far more permanent than physical ones.
The war may have ended on Earth, but it continued to rage within them, a silent, internal battlefield.
And the cycle, the very nature of conflict, wasn't truly broken.
Which brings us to the unending war, the final chilling piece of the saga.
Years after the war's end, the fragile peace was shattered again. Axe, who had returned to the Andalite homeworld and risen to the respected rank of prince,
was declared missing in action after his flagship, the Intrepid, was mysteriously destroyed.
An Andalite delegation informed Jake that Axe's ship had been attacked by this mysterious and overwhelmingly powerful entity known only as the One.
A parasitic collective that absorbs other species into itself, eerily similar to the Borg from Star Trek you mentioned.
Yeah, and evidence chillingly suggested Axe had been absorbed, his consciousness and identity likely subsumed into this new, terrifying enemy.
The threat evolved, became something new and even more terrifying.
But the fundamental nature of the conflict remained. Invasion, assimilation, the struggle for identity.
For Jake, who had been lost and purposeless in peacetime, haunted by his past commands.
The news of a new, unimaginable threat and a friend in dire danger provided this grim, almost unwelcome sense of direction.
He reassembled what was left of his original team, Marco and Tobias, and recruited 2 new members from a specialized military unit he had been training.
They stole a modified Yeerk vessel, which they pointedly christened the Rachel,
and set off into deep space to rescue Axe.
The series concludes on a stark, utterly unforgettable cliffhanger.
They encounter the massive, terrifying ship belonging to the One and are hailed by a being that is a horrifying amalgamation of different species.
Including, unmistakably, Axe.
As this new, all-encompassing enemy prepares to attack, Jake, the commander, once again gives his final, desperate order.
Ram them.
This ambiguous and abrupt ending was a deliberate, powerful choice by the author K.A. Applegate.
To reinforce the series' central anti-war thesis, Applegate herself stated that she never intended a clean, celebratory ending.
Believing that wars very often end with a nearly seamless transition to another war.
This is the ultimate so what for you, the listener. The ending is not a setup for a sequel, nor is it a comforting resolution.
No, it's a profound thematic statement. The victory against the Yeerks was hollow. The heroes were irrevocably damaged.
And the only escape from the trauma of one war was to immediately plunge into another, even more terrifying conflict.
The timeline of the Animorphs saga is not a story with a neat conclusion, but a brutal, unending cycle.
Which stands as the final and most devastating piece of its lore. It truly leaves you with a lot to chew on, forcing you to question the very concept of peace.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, let's just briefly touch on the appendix, canon and adaptation, just to clarify the specific canonical timeline we've been discussing.
Right. This entire deep dive is focused on the definitive canonical narrative constructed from the 54 main books, the 4 megamorphs, and the 4 Chronicles prequels.
It's important to understand how other media relate to this core narrative and why these books really stand apart.
Yeah, this is crucial for appreciating the specific narrative and thematic choices of the original series. Non-canonical media often deviates significantly in plot, tone, characterization.
And understanding those distinctions helps emphasize why its unflinching portrayal of war stood out so much compared to its adaptations.
The books really carved out their own unique niche.
For instance, the Animorphs books, those 2 choose-your-own-adventure game books.
Yeah, those are considered non-canonical. Their branching narratives and multiple endings just don't fit with the single linear timeline of the main series.
They're fun, but they exist in their own separate playground, basically.
Then there's the Nickelodeon TV series from 1998 to 1999.
It adapted early books, but made substantial, often necessary changes due to budget and, well, children's TV constraints.
Characters were aged up from around 13 to 16, 17. Maybe to appeal to a broader teen demographic or simplify complex relationships.
Complex plot scenes were significantly simplified, like Axe being found in an abandoned building on Earth rather than his crashed ship underwater, which was a major plot point.
Even Rachel's primary battle morph changed from a grizzly bear or elephant, which were her most iconic and brutal forms in the book,
to a more palatable lion. Probably for production reasons and to avoid the intensity of the book's descriptions.
And most significantly, the tone was substantially toned down, reducing the visceral violence, the psychological trauma, the profound moral ambiguity central to the books.
presenting a far more conventional and less brutal narrative. It essentially sanitized the core message.
Yeah, pretty much. We also had 3 video games in 2000, Animorphs for Game Boy Color, Know the Seeker for PC, and Shattered Reality for PlayStation.
Each featured original plots not part of the book series continuity. Shattered Reality involved reality alteration with no novel basis.
And the GBC game was a Pokemon-style RPG focused on collecting morphs through battle, which fundamentally diverged from the DNA acquisition lore and the one-time morph limit.
They were essentially Animorphs adjacent rather than true adaptations.
What's consistently striking is how unwavering the original books were in their narrative and thematic commitment, a consistency that these adaptations almost universally failed to capture.
Even the graphic novels, which started in 2020 and are adapted by artist Chris Grine.
Right, while they're highly faithful to the plot and often use direct dialogue, they represent a separate canonical stream just by being a different medium.
As a visual medium, the artist's interpretation of characters, aliens, the visceral morphing process, it's unique.
For example, morphing is depicted as intentionally unsettling and even goofy in the graphic novels, which differs from how many readers might have imagined the often painful and grotesque process in their minds.
So while the plot is canonical, the visual representation itself constitutes a distinct adaptation that adds its own layer of interpretation.
Exactly.
So understanding these distinctions helps you appreciate the specific narrative and thematic choices of the original series, emphasizing why its unflinching portrayal of war stood out so much compared to its adaptations.
The books, despite being for a young adult audience, truly held their ground and delivered a message that was often challenging, even for adults.
We've journeyed through billions of years of cosmic games, accidental empires forged from, well, misguided kindness.
And a brutal secret war fought by children who were forced to become soldiers.
What stands out most vividly, and what this deep dive truly reveals, is that the Animorphs saga is far more than just a science fiction adventure.
It's a profound, often uncomfortable, exploration of the psychological and moral costs of conflict, the crushing weight of leadership.
And the devastating, irreversible loss of innocence. It really sticks with you, doesn't it? Years after you've closed the final book.
And that's precisely why it resonates so deeply. The series forces us to grapple with incredibly difficult questions, even for an adult audience, let alone its target demographic.
If our greatest struggles are merely moves in a cosmic game, does our free will truly matter? Or are we just pawns dancing on a preordained board?
And if a war ends, only to transition seamlessly into another, as Applegate so powerfully suggests, can humanity, or any species, ever truly escape the brutal, unending cycle of conflict?
What does a story like this, so unflinching in its portrayal of war's trauma and the shattered lives left in its wake, teach its young audience about the brutal realities of heroism and the elusive nature of peace?
It's a powerful, unsettling, and ultimately timeless narrative that leaves you pondering long after the final page.